Eric LaFontaine, are we live?
The speaker's on
there. Okay. I would like to call the Tuesday, May 5th emergency video conference meeting to order. I will say that I am not the mayor. Mayor Haney had a personal issue that he had to attend to, and so I'll be presiding over the meeting today. The first order of business is roll call. If you can help us with that, Christine.
Certainly. Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. O'Rourke.
Present.
Mr. O'Rourke is present. Mr. Chapman is absent. Ms. Corley.
Here.
Ms. Corley is present. Ms. Hyatt.
Here.
Ms. Hyatt is present. Ms. Landing.
Here.
Ms. Landing is present. Mr. Rambo.
Here.
Mr. Rambo is present. Mr. Santos.
Here.
Mr. Santos is present. Ms. Whitley.
Here.
Ms. Whitley is present and Mayor Haney is absent. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much, Christine. We all are aware that we've received the public comments, and we also received a letter from Mr. Chapman, who is not with us right now, too, which, although was not a public comment, I would consider that a comment for us to consider. So we have all of those, and if we can, we'd like to go to item number 4, which is a presentation by the Charleston Regional Development Authority on the IGNITE plan. We are lucky to have Brent Jonas with us today, and Brent is going to walk through that with us. And before you start, Brent, we are very excited that you're here, but more importantly, excited for the work that you've done with the IGNITE program. I can assure you that you are going to have a group of people that are very interested in helping you do what you need to do to help get our businesses back in order here. So whenever you're ready to start, please feel free.
So Tom, thank you very much and the rest of council for giving us the opportunity to speak with you today. I will be very brief in introducing General Hank Taylor. About 2.5 weeks ago,
he is now joining.
The CRDA was approached by Mayor Tecklenburg and Chairman Elliott Summey of Charleston County Council with a request that we help lead the region's return to work safely. And over the past 2.5 weeks, through our One Region program, which is the region's regional competitiveness strategy, we have been partnering with around 28 different organizations to date, and that number continues to grow on a way to reopen our region safely. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce General Hank Taylor. Many of you know General Taylor. General Taylor is the chair of the One Region Executive Committee, and I would like to turn it over to him so he can share more specifics on our plan and the work that has been done to date. So General Taylor, if I could turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Brent. Let me start by thanking the entire council for giving us a couple of minutes to come and give you a snapshot of some of the things we're trying to do to reignite our economy and get our commerce going again. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that we've been working together as a region for quite a long time, particularly when it comes to economic development challenges. And this goes all the way back to the closure of the Naval Yard, when the 3 counties decided to come together and actually form the CRDA so that we can work together as a region for economic challenges. And we've had pretty good success over the last 20 years, and we continue to work together, and we continue to execute strategies. Our current strategy is called One Region. And One Region is based on 4 basic values. First value is we want a strong and resilient economy. Secondly, we want opportunities where everybody gets to thrive. Thirdly, we want to be balanced in how we accept opportunities and making sure that we continue to keep those things that make us unique in the region. And then finally, the final value is that we want to be a connected community. So that it's just fortuitous that we are executing a One Region strategy to take on our economic challenges At the same time, we got a new challenge. And that new challenge is really a public health challenge. And we've been working very hard, working with our medical community to strategize how we can safely balance those two things, our public health challenge as well as our economic development strategy. So as Brent mentioned, a couple of weeks ago, we were approached by our elected officials to see if we can take the lead on it. And when you look at it, as I mentioned, we already have a values-based strategy. We had in place a cross-section of our community on our executive board, from nonprofits to business to banks to volunteers. So we had an in-place structure to do this. And I'm currently serving as the chairman of that executive committee. So when we came together and we took a look at the challenges, we said, yeah, well, we've got some experience on the economic challenge side. How do we marry that with public health challenge? And the way it makes that important is that we work closely with our health professionals, allowing us to do those things that keep us safe. So as we go to get our commerce back open running, we said we can add some values to that. So the first value we think we can add is that we're putting together an overall plan, our strategy, that say, here's the way we'll approach this as a region, one region to reignite our economy. At the same time, balancing and making sure safety is at the forefront. So the first step, in the next week or so, you're going to see an overall plan that comes from us. And then the second thing is we're looking at individual industries, and we're scouring the country right now for best practices. So we can put together in one place, easy to access for our businesses, the best practices industry by industry. With the thought being, we want to be able to make sure our employers are safe, our employees are safe, and just as importantly, our general public's safe. Because really to get the commerce up and running, we need consumers, and consumers will only come out if they're safe. So those are the first two steps that we're taking. We're well underway on the first step. We're vetting our first plan right now. You should see that in about a week or so. And then immediately following that, you'll see these guidelines that will come out. Now, we're being, as I mentioned, we have a cross section of people represented on our executive committee, but we have two foundational members who are supporting us, one being the CRDA, the other being the Metro Chamber. And they've been the foundation from the beginning in our regional strategies, and they're really our foundational support right now. And I think, Brent, we have the chairman from your board on, John Haggerty.
Yes, I'm on, General.
John, you want to add anything from your perspective relative to our first steps?
I want to confirm that the effort was begun by, in its initial phases, by CRDA, which, as many of you may not know, represents the 3 counties, all our educational institutions, and the more or less the 100 biggest businesses in the area. And we've teamed up with the Chamber of Commerce, which represents 1,700 local businesses, to be the initial support for one region. And we have some wonderful partners that Brent and others can tell you about. A lot of people, a lot of buy-in by the community. And I think General Taylor has laid it out as well as anyone could. And I just want to say how fortunate we feel to have him taking on that role, and we're here to help. That's all I have to add, Hank.
Thank you, John. I guess that's a brief snapshot, and we certainly want to leave a couple of our minutes for any questions that you may have.
Okay, well, we are so thankful for all 3 of you being with us today. Your reputations and your contributions in this area absolutely speak for themselves. It gives us a great comfort level to know that not only is this equally represented by many, but it's led by you. So we appreciate that. I would like to start off, if I can, and then we'll open it up with some other questions. I tend to some of my questions sometimes make people roll their eyes, but I'm going to ask this anyway. Can you be direct to us as a political entity in your opinions of, do you think governments can hurt your efforts by maybe jumping the gun or by doing things that may not be in accordance with your plans. I know that our council right now, and I consider this a good point, is very aggressive in their efforts to try to, with safety, open up this community. But you mentioned a week or two to come out with your plan. The purpose for this meeting today was because we wanted to see what we could do for our local restaurants that have to be outside to actually assist them. So can you just comment a little bit about, the government's asked you to do this, but what advice can you give us to make sure that this is a success and we don't undermine your efforts?
I think the first thing is let you know that when we get together and meet as a thinking group, as a leadership group, we recognize the equity of three main areas. We recognize the equity of our elected officials and our medical professionals. We recognize the equity of our businesses. We recognize the equity of public safety of our public. So we try to manage all of that. And so what I would say to your comment is we respect the role that you have to play. We will do our best to work in coordination with you. We want to be cooperative and collaborative in this whole thing. Again, along the government side, the governor has formed a task force called Accelerate South Carolina.
Right.
We actually have members from that task force on our executive committee as well. So our efforts are going to be to recognize all of those equities and try to provide things that help us all move forward. And that's why we're going industry by industry. We'll get best practices. I know you're going to work restaurants here, but I will tell you that's on our list as well. And then we'll put that in one place where people are interested in working in those specific industries could have ease of access to it, and they'd be looking at best practices that we've been able to gather from across the country.
Does the town of Mount Pleasant government have representation on this committee?
I don't think the town specifically, but we do. We know we have the support of your mayor. He participated in our video along with the other mayors of the large cities in the area, as well as all of our county council members. So I won't say we have somebody representing specifically from your government, but I know we have people from Mount Pleasant that's on our committee.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other council members? Comments, please.
I just want to thank you. This is Gary Santos. I served on that committee when the base closed in North Charleston, and that was very interesting. Met a lot of people there as well. It was a great group. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to do and how y'all plan on trying to get these businesses back and running. So I encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, and I look forward to hearing more information.
Are there any other comments?
Yes, our say something. So I just want to thank you so much for presenting this today, because it is important that businesses know that we're behind them, that we want to do everything possible, and just having you there to support them and represent the best ways to get open, but also just the fact that you're taking a proactive role is going to mean a lot to a lot of business owners. Thank you.
Any other comments by any other council members? Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your help and your work, and know that we are in your corner for if there's any way we can assist you in this effort.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we will go to item number 5, the first and final reading, an emergency ordinance to temporarily authorize the use of new or additional areas for outdoor dining and retail services. We were all provided this ordinance. Is there anyone that would like to comment on this?
Mayor Pro Tem, this is Eric. Just wanted to say that from the staff perspective, we've been listening to members of council, And obviously with the leadership of Ms. Landing as Chair of Economic Development Committee and the members of Economic Development Committee, what is in front of you is a way that we can help retailers and restaurateurs during this time. If you'd like, I have Christiane ready to give a few details, further details on the ordinance, if you prefer that, sir.
Are there any council members that would prefer this? We were given this ordinance. You certainly can tell that there was effort put into this to do exactly what was mentioned at our committee meetings on Monday. And, but if anybody would like to hear more details, we'd be happy to do that.
I think, Tom,
Yes,
it's
Ms.
Brenda.
Corley.
I think they've done an amazing job. I mean, they've gone even to the smallest of details, even talking about, you know, that they have to have signage that says no alcohol beyond this point. I guess that's just to keep people from walking on the street with booze, right?
Right.
And I mean, I picked through it, and I mean, it's got parking, fire, emergency, handicap. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's well
Good
done.
job, Eric.
Any other comments?
Mr. O'Rourke, this is David Paglarini. Just a
Yes, sir,
reminder,
David.
this is an emergency ordinance and it requires 2/3 members. So we have 7, it will require five votes to pass.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion at this time?
I'll certainly make a motion, Mr. Chair, to
I
approve
second.
the emergency ordinance, temporary, authorize the use of new or additional areas for outdoor dining and retail services, ordinance number 20028.
Okay,
Second.
Ms. Corley, was that a second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in, is there any
Mr. O'Rourke?
discussion? Any discussion?
Mr. O'Rourke,
Yes, please.
Tom.
Is this Jake?
this is Jake. I just wanted to say that being a part owner of a restaurant, I don't feel like this necessarily meets the guidelines for me having to recuse myself, but just out of an abundance of caution, I am going to abstain.
Okay, Mr. Paglarini, what does that do with the math? I'm not a math teacher. I married one, but so do we need we still would need 5, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
I've
we
asked
do have a
7.
motion, we have a second, we have 1 abstention. Any other discussion on this topic?
I have a question.
Yes,
This is
please.
Kathy. Thank you. I'm just reading here on the very first item. It says all properly licensed food service or retail businesses in the town of Mount Pleasant wishing to offer outdoor services shall first apply to the planning department and provide necessary information as directed by the planning director. So does that mean if somebody has a restaurant or a business but hasn't ever done anything outdoors, they do need to ask for special permission? And if so, how are we going to handle that in terms of volume? Isn't that going to slow things down a lot?
Eric?
Yes, sir. As mentioned, it's an excellent question. Christiane, you want to weigh in on that?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. We've actually got everything in place, and our intention is not to slow anything down. We've been working since yesterday to not only on this ordinance, but also to come up with an application that we've almost got 100% ready. It'll be launched either this evening or by tomorrow morning. It's super simple. We're going to, with the press release that we put out later today, following y'all's meeting, assuming approval of this, we will include a link back to our website. It's a simple form that people have to go in. They just put in their business name, their location, whether they want to do outdoor dining or outdoor retail, whether or not they're going to have alcohol, and then they just send us a picture and said, this is the location. This is where we want to expand into our parking lot or on our sidewalk or whatever it may be. That is sent to the planning department. They will get an acknowledgement from the planning department, and the acknowledgement will include a response that if we have any issues or concerns, like it looks like they're impeding access in some way, that we'll be back in touch. But otherwise, they're good to go. And so the whole purpose of them putting in it's not even really an application, but filling in this form is so that we have an inventory. But what's going to be a benefit to them in addition is this: once we have all this information, We'll have it internally, but we'll also have an external map so that people will be able to go on our website and see everybody who's doing this. So it's a benefit too. So we'll be able to help promote any of the restaurants that are participating or outdoor retailers that are trying to use outdoor as well. So it's a simple process, not intended to hold anybody back at all.
Okay,
Tom-
can I just, that sounds great. I was just going to finish the
Kathy,
thought. Oh, yeah, just to finish the thought. So then if somebody already does have outdoor dining, but they are also going to be expanding out because of what we're doing today, then they still need to apply, or no, because they already have outdoor dining?
They would still need to fill in the form, because part of our thought along with that is, some places only have a very small dining area, and maybe they want to expand a little bit more and take advantage of a parking space or two to put a few more tables out. And so we want to be able to, same thing, we want to make sure that they aren't using a handicap space or they're not impeding emergency access or something like that. So it's it's exact same process, very simple, but we would like to have that information as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Santos, did you?
Well, I was just gonna, I think I was gonna say some of the things that Christiane was saying. A lot of this just seems like kind of common sense stuff that they should be doing anyhow, that many of them are already doing. So I don't see it going, too far overboard. I think it's great.
Okay, do we have any other comments for discussion? We do have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions?
Yeah, I abstain.
Okay, and any opposed? All right, the motion passes, and strongly appreciate staff's work in this.
Absolutely.
I never thought about the part about having a map where anybody can go to help find these businesses. So that's a great plus. Okay, another emergency ordinance, replacing emergency ordinance 20025 and temporarily suspending the operating procedure of town council meetings and other boards and commissions and other emergency provisions related to COVID-19 outbreak. Ordinance number 20029. I actually did listen to the Police, Legal, and Judicial Committee meeting last night, and this was explained thoroughly. So if any member of that committee, I know the mayor is not here now, but any member of that committee, or Eric, if you want to give a little overview synopsis of what this actually means by replacing this.
Mayor Pro Tem, if it suits, by the way, I love your t-shirt. Go
It's
Tigers.
terrible. It's awful.
Jake hates it. I didn't have time. I shouldn't have done that.
I digress. I apologize. Councilor Pagliarini is prepared to discuss items 6 and 7 if you felt it was helpful.
Okay, let's do 6 and 7 if that's the will of the council.
All right.
We can do both of those.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem, again, this is David. This is essentially a replacement for emergency ordinance 20025. That was passed by council, an emergency ordinance
Is now exiting.
on March 17th. As all of council knows, those ordinances are valid for 61 days by state law. So a decision has to be made either to let it expire, move forward, essentially renew it by new ordinance. And what Police, Legal, Judicial did was vote to extend it essentially with a few changes. And those few changes are that operating procedures, normal operating procedures for town council are suspended just as they were on March 17th, and also included Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, and Commercial Design Review Board. Now, that does not mean this is a vote for approval that those bodies have to meet. It's if they have to meet, then it allows it. So that's change one. Change two is that the termination date on this ordinance is not shown as 61 days, but the committee felt that June 30th, 2020 was appropriate as a termination date. And of course, council can move to terminate it prior to that, alter it, extend it, do whatever you wish. So that's a summary. It also includes the same provision as last time, that the town administrator is authorized to enact plans to ensure continuity in the delivery of government services. Town administrator may revoke or cancel special events permits. And it also discusses the price gouging prohibition, as well as deadlines imposed by town ordinance are continued to be told. So there's some very important things in there.
Mr. O'Rourke?
Yes, sir. Please, Jake.
All right, Mr. Pagarini, a question for you. So at the committee yesterday, we were discussing the time frame for when this should end. And I think originally, like I had suggested, the end of May, and we ended up changing to the end of June because I think Ms. Whitley had brought up the point about the price gouging, wanting the price gouging rule to still be in effect. The more I looked into it, though, is that necessary? I mean, isn't the price gouging law a state law? So whether this ordinance expires or not, would the price gouging law not still be in effect?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. It is. And as reflected in the ordinance, it's South Carolina Code Section 395145. If you remember, Mr. Rambo, this was requested by a council member the first time around to be included in this document. But as you say, it's not necessary.
Okay, so with that in mind, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice, whatever, okay. I would like to offer, I would like to make an amendment to this new ordinance to have an end date of May 30th, 2020.
Okay, we have a motion.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about that amendment?
Tom?
Yes.
Brenda?
Ms. Corley, please.
I would just like to echo Jake's point, especially if the main concern was the whole price gouging thing. I remember Howard did make a point, and that's the only reason we added it. But May 31st sounds really good to me. It sounds better than June 30th.
Okay. Any other comments?
And you know what, Mr. O'Rourke, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I said May 30th. I meant the last day in May, which is May 31st.
31st.
So
Okay.
my amendment is May 31st. Yeah.
Okay.
And I assume that's what
This
you
is,
meant.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
this
please.
is GM Whitley, Matt.
Yes, Gia,
I
please.
would just like to ask, oh, thank you. I would like to ask Mr. Demora, is the town prepared to go back to in-person town council meetings, committee meetings, et cetera? Is it prepared to open up with staffing and with everything for the month of June?
By the month of June, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments? We do have a motion and a second. Would it be better to have a discussion on other amendments and then vote once? Or would it be better to take these individually?
It'd be better to take them individually.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second
Well,
to
I believe,
change the date. Any other discussion on this?
I believe, David, if I'm wrong, we have to vote on the amendment first, right?
That is my understanding. What the current vote is on Mr. Rambo's amendment to change
With
the
the
expiration date to May
Yes.
31st.
Good.
Okay, so that was the motion and that second, that is what the second was. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, we are still.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to, with that amendment, I'd like to now move to approve ordinance 20028.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second for that. Is there any discussion? All right, so that action will have us actually adopt that. And we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? All right, great. The next item is a discussion and possible action to amend gathering rules in parks.
Yeah, Mr.
Please.
Mayor,
I
believe
think we have item 6 next.
We're on item
Item
7.
6.
Oh, that's on the previous page. Okay,
We're on 7 now.
yeah, we're at item 7. I'm sorry. Discussion and possible action to allow emergency proclamation to expire. Wait, that's 7.
Yep.
Didn't we do that?
No, I thought we did 6, which was ordinance.
Yeah,
number-
we did. I think we did 6. We said, I think we said 20028, but I think we meant 20029.
We did. I'm sorry.
That's okay. If Mayor Haney was here, we wouldn't be having these problems, but I'm doing the best I can.
All right, that's okay. We're okay.
So
David, do we need to revote?
I think we should revote, and I think we should.
Okay, I'm gonna, okay, so I'm gonna remake another motion to approve ordinance 20029.
Can we do this though first, Jake? I think,
Yes.
and help me, David, because I'm on my own out here. I think we have to undo what we did to clear that record straight, and then go into the new ordinance. But I don't know, David. If there's an easier way, let me know.
Mr. O'Rourke, I think it's really just the intention was 20029 as amended. And I don't think we need to clear anything. It was an error. And if you just want to make the motion again to approve 20029 as amended, then we can call the
Okay,
vote.
is that your
All right,
motion?
so
Mr.
moved.
Rambo?
Yes,
Can
yes,
the
sir.
record show
Second.
that it was Mr. Rambo's error? Okay, good. So that's where we are. All right, I'm sorry. Item 7, discussion of possible action to allow emergency proclamation to expire 11:59 on May 7th, 2020. And I, again, listening to the meeting, there was good reason for this. So if anybody wants to clarify this for us, we can make that motion.
Yeah, Mayor, this is David again. The mayor asked for this item to be put on the PJL agenda so that the committee could discuss at least consider the status of these mayoral proclamations moving forward. And what committee decided was that the state of emergency as dictated by, or as decided by proclamation ends 11:59 p.m. on May 7th. And the committee vote was to simply allow that to expire and not have that state of emergency moving forward. Now, what is important is we are under a state of emergency in the state of South Carolina through May 15th. And a relevant question was asked as to whether the town state of emergency somehow was a qualifier for funding and the like. And we don't believe there is any. Of course, if such existed, it could always be re-implemented by the mayor or by council. So that was the vote as is on this agenda, and that is for council consideration.
Okay. So we have this. Is there anybody that would like to make a motion?
I'll be happy to make a motion to allow emergency proclamation to expire as of 11:59 p.m. on May 7th, 2020, as discussed by our legal.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion. Second, any discussion on this?
I'm sorry, who was the second on that?
Kathy?
Corley was, or Kathy was,
Oh,
I'm sorry. You both
Thank you.
sound alike and I can't see your faces.
I wish I sounded like that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Now we are on item 8, discussion and possible action to amend gathering rules in parks. Gary, you were gonna start off.
Yes,
with
sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I met with staff, Chief Ritchie and Steve Gerget, with some of his staff, and we discussed it thoroughly. And what I'd like to do is to make a motion that we modify Phase 2 of the Mount Pleasant Recreation Department's reopening plan to allow groups to gather in accordance with the CDC guidelines on our parks and our facilities that we already have open. This will take effect immediately. And that also, I wanted to include Pitt Street Park, because that was closed because of gathering issues. And now that we've decided to relax the gathering initiative, that will allow Pitt Street Park to open, and that will take effect on Friday.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I would like to ask one question. I think that, Mr. Santos, there will be some happy people as we talk about Pitt Street Bridge, but wasn't there a operational discussion by the chief as it related to trying to assist with a traffic pattern that would not enable people to actually gather? It would help us with that?
Well, I could go ahead and defer to the chief. He's here, but I know that now that we've or have approved the rest of it that we did with the gathering previously, then
There'd be no need for that then?
there would be no need for that. Yes.
Okay. All right.
But the chief is on, so if you'd
No,
like for him to discuss it.
I was just curious, but if the gathering thing's off, then there'll be no need to do that.
Right.
Yeah,
Can I
okay,
ask a
great.
question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so does this mean that when people go to Waterfront Memorial Park and other places, they don't have to keep moving? They can actually put a blanket, have a picnic or whatever?
Well, they still have to go by the CDC guidelines, but
Right.
as long as they're
Right.
following, the 6-foot rule and the guidelines, then yes, they can go do whatever they like. Absolutely.
So they can be with their own family, they just have to be 6 feet away from anybody else?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason I like this is there appears to be a little more consistency with what's going on in the town right now anyway.
Right.
If you look at Costco and Walmart and places like that, and then the eating establishments right now. I mean, currently you can sit 8 at the table that are not family members. The next table is separated. So I think it only makes sense to do this in the parks as well.
Can I ask a
Mr.
question
O'Rourke?
for legal?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
go ahead, GM. Go ahead, GM.
Oh, the question, in this phase 2 though, would the playgrounds with all the shared equipment still be closed?
Yes, there's no changes in the initial phase 2 that we approved. We're only amending it to include the gathering and to also include the Pitt Street Bridge Park. Those are the only things that we're amending here. Everything else is the same. It's already been voted on.
Okay, would it be possible to hear from Chief Ritchie about how, or Steve Gergich, about how it has gone in this past time where the parks have been open, what issues have been faced, if any, and how our citizens have been responding to if people are gathering kind of in violation of the governor's orders, how that's been handled and responded to?
Absolutely. Either Steve or Chief can jump on.
Thank you.
Sure, I'm on now, and I'm glad to answer that. Steve and the recreation staff, we've all been working very well together, and we've had actually no issues at these parks. The few that, if you wouldn't even consider an issue, the folks sitting down, we've had to ask them to move, and they've complied. So it's going to be nice to be able to allow them to sit and follow the CDC guidelines and be able to watch their children play. But as far as issues, it's just going very smoothly, and I think we work very well with rec. Our citizens have worked incredibly well with us during this entire pandemic, and I don't think this will be any different.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other questions, GM? Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Any other discussion by anyone or comments?
I just had one question.
Sure.
For Mr. Pagdarini, I kind of had asked this yesterday at our meeting, and it seems like maybe it's kind of a gray area, but so again, you can sit 8 people at a table at a restaurant. They don't have to be your own family. With what we're doing now with the parks, I'll just throw out a for instance, can a group of 4 or 5 kids get together and have like a group workout or throw the football around or play 2-on-2 basketball? We're now saying that is not illegal.
Yeah, we did have this conversation at PJL, and for those who were not present at that meeting, Executive Order 2020-31 issued by Governor McMaster over the weekend says this, that law enforcement officers of the state may prohibit or disperse any congregation or gathering of people unless authorized or in their homes in groups of 3 or more people if any such congregation or gathering is deemed to pose or could pose a threat to public health. So we discussed that. It's gray, but it seems to provide some leeway to law enforcement to impose as they see fit.
I just think they need to play bad defense, Jake.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No lockdown B.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed it said May too as well. So I
Yeah.
think that might be a great area you're talking about. So it doesn't say that they will, it said that they may.
Yeah, I mean, I just think our kids have almost been villainized for playing with their friends, and I think we need to move on from that.
And I'll say this, but the chief won't. The reason we've had no problems is the culture of our police department.
Correct, 100%.
They are going to make sure that people are safe, and they're not going to do it with a billy club. They're going to do it with discussions and things like that. So I'm certain that if we were to vote for this, that we are still going to have safe environments in this town. I do.
All right.
Okay. Any other comments, please? All right. Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Did I hear an opposed? No. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Don't judge
I had-
me on the first meeting here.
Good job.
I think we
good job.
we got through it without a lot of problems. Before we adjourn, I really want to commend the Charleston Regional Development Alliance for the work that they're doing. Commend all of you for what you're doing to assist them with this work. But I don't think there's any question by anybody in our business community that this council wants and our mayor wants to see us all open as quickly as possible and moving forward. Okay, if nothing else for the cause, we will adjourn.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
See you later.